goddess of radical self-love, and this is MECA, Make Everyone Count Always. We are a support network for radical self-love, full forgiveness, and compassion for the self. So we can offer those things to others. Experts in self-care, that's what we are, that's what we do, that's what we practice. And master manifestors. When you put together radical self-love, self-care, following your dreams, passion, goals, and desires, letting go of fear, doubt, worry, shame, guilt, all those things, then you manifest the life that you want and desire. Yes. So, our family here at MECA supports and values our community's most vulnerable, care receivers, and those who care for them, caregivers. When our community's most vulnerable and those who care for them feel supported and valued, the rest of us are assured we are supported and valued as well. Ta-da! Thank you so much to all our new subscribers. Thank you for your likes, comments, shares, and donations. Cha, 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 cha. Today, Freaky Friday. Go and get your freak on. So, Freaky Friday, meaning we are our full self-actualized self. So, we do things that have our signature on them, our personal signature. So today, I will be working on my painting. And I've done a few other things already, obviously. Because I do this every day. I just want others to join me in the fun. You know, walk like you actually want to walk, dress how you actually want to dress. That represents who you are. Talk your true nature. Speak from your true self. Create. It's about creating. Yes. Self-actualization to me. That's really about what it is. It's about creating. Being who we truly are. And expressing that, being able to express that to others without shame or guilt or, you know, any of the other yuckies. So, you know, like approval. From who? Who do you need approval from? Not me. You need it from you, and I need it from me, because we're the only ones who look at ourselves in the mirror every single day and wake up in this body. I wake up in this body. You wake up in that body, obviously. So, we will begin with one of my boyfriends. Yes. Neil Donald Walsh. It's been so long since I last talked to him. So, yes. No one will judge you ever for why and how. Could God judge God's own creation and call it bad? So, as you all know, we are a metaphysical channel, so those of you who relate with the word God or universal consciousness or whatever it is that you deem the center, right? Truth. There's still yum in here. Yeah. So, let me see. On our Freaky Fridays, we utilize my real boyfriend's work, Maslow. And today we are on Towards the Psychology of Being. Sorry, like I should have shut that. Or something. Maybe I'll turn that on. Just one second. Ah, now I can see my book too. That's awesome. So dumb. I know. Half for entertainment. Ew. This one's a good one. It's also helping me in my other work. So, yes. The need to know and the fear of knowing. Fear of knowledge. Evasion of knowledge. Pains and dangers of knowing. And within this chapter, I must warn you, there is discussion on religions. Okay, I really hope that. I'm like, I just put this on right before, and I never checked it. It's like, whatever. Who cares? I know you don't. So, there is discussion on religion, and I don't want anybody to get upset. These were my boyfriend's thoughts. Some I align with, and sometimes we do not. Okay? But take what resonates and release what doesn't. Yeah? So, fear of knowledge, evasion of knowledge, pains and dangers of knowledge. From our point of view, Freud's greatest discovery is that the great cause of much psychological illness is the fear of knowledge of oneself, of one's emotions, impulses, memories, capacities, potentialities, of one's destiny. We have discovered that fear of knowledge of oneself is very often isomorphic with and parallel with fear of the outside world. Good thing we're on Freaky Friday, right? That is, inner problems and outer problems tend to be deeply similar and to be related to each other. Therefore, we speak simply of fear of knowledge in general, without discriminating too sharply fear of the inner from fear of the outer. In general, this kind of fear is defensive, in the sense that it is a protection of our self-esteem, of love and respect for ourselves. We tend to be afraid of any knowledge that could cause us to despise ourselves or to make us feel inferior, weak, worthless, evil, shameful. We protect ourselves and our ideal image of ourselves by repression and similar defenses, which are essentially techniques by which we avoid becoming conscious of unpleasant or dangerous truths. And in psychotherapy, the maneuvers by which we continue avoiding this consciousness of pain, of painful truth, the ways in which we fight the efforts of the therapist to help us see the truth, we call resistance. All the techniques of the therapist are in one way or another truth revealing, or are ways of strengthening the patient so he can bear the truth. To be completely honest with oneself is the very best effort a human being can make. Freud. But there is another kind of truth we tend to evade. Not only do we hang on to our psychopathology, but also we tend to evade personal growth because this too can bring another kind of fear, of awe, of feeling, feelings of weakness and inadequacy. And so we find another kind of resistance, a denying of our best side, of our talents, of our finest impulses, of our highest potentialities, of our creativeness. In brief, this is the struggle against our own greatness, the fear of hubris, self-confidence, real self-confidence, right? Walking in our own truth. Here we are reminded that our own Adam and Eve myth, with its dangerous tree of knowledge that mustn't be touched, is paralleled in many other cultures which also feel that ultimate knowledge is something reserved for the gods. Most religions have had a thread of anti-intellectualism along with their threads, of course. Some trace a preference for faith or belief or piety rather than for knowledge, or the feeling that some forms of knowledge were too dangerous to meddle with and had best be forbidden or reserved to a few special people. And we know where that's gotten us. In most cultures, those revolutionaries who defied the gods by seeking out their secrets were punished heavily, like Adam and Eve, Prometheus and Oedipus, and have been remembered as warnings to all others not to try to be godlike. Seeking knowledge, right? Let's remember this. And most of you know that my feelings are the God is within. Looking, seeing through our eyes, right? Knows everything we think, feel, touch, see, goes through it all with us because God is inside. We all are the collective together with God realizing and living through us in all these different forms. Yeah, so seek the knowledge. And, well, in many works of master ascendant works, there's knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and discernment. Those are the keys. And if I may say it in a very condensed way, it is precisely the godlike in ourselves that we are ambivalent about, fascinated by, and fearful of, motivated to, and defensive against. This is one aspect of the basic human predicament, that we are simultaneously worms and gods, because we're human beings. So we're still human. We're still animals. But the being within us, spirit, God, right? The being within that controls the body or whatever. It's kind of like the whole ascension process to be able to fight almost against animalistic urges and temptations or fears, right, that are unfounded, and choose the higher, lighter route. Sometimes not lighter, but, higher energy. Anyway, sometimes it's a fight to get there. Just leave me alone. Every one of our great creators, our godlike people, has testified to the element of courage that is needed in the lonely moment of creation, affirming something new, contradictory to the old. This is a kind of daring, a going out in front all alone, a defiance, challenge, Freaky Friday. right? Kind of daring. Going out in front all alone. A defiance. A challenge. To be you. The moment of fright is quite understandable, but must nevertheless be overcome if creation is to be possible. Thus, to discover in oneself a great talent can certainly bring exhilaration, but it also brings a fear of dangers and responsibilities and duties of being a leader and of being all alone, which we've talked about. When you follow your dreams, passion, goals, and desires, it can become lonely when, people are not used to you putting you first. It's just something you have to deal with. And definitely being a leader, right? Being a boss. Not everybody's going to like you. Being a parent. Those kids are not always going to like you. Kind of gets lonely. But it's okay because we do our self-care. And we like our alone time. Sorry. Don't know what's wrong with me today. I really don't. But at least my energy is coming back, obviously. Responsibility can seem as a heavy burden and evaded as long as possible. Like 40 years. Think of the mixture of feelings of awe, humility, even of fright that have been reported to us, let us say, by people who have been elected president. We're not even going there now. This was written a long time ago. A few standard clinical examples can teach us much. First is the fairly common phenomenon encountered in therapy with women. This is a really good one, and I'm like, really? Many brilliant women are caught up in the problem of making unconscious identification between intelligence and masculinity. Could this be my issue? To probe, to search, to be curious, to affirm, to discover. All these she may feel as defeminizing. I mean, definitely not with my work, but there's different parts of my work that this may interplay with. Yeah. Like contracts, sales, negotiations, getting paid. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry I keep losing my spot too. To probe, to search, to be curious, to affirm, to discover, all these she may feel as defeminizing, especially if her husband is in his uncertain masculinity is threatened thereby. I wonder if it's not only husbands. I wonder if it's men. I'm just saying. It's just thought. It's not, I'm not trying to demonize anybody. I know it happens everywhere. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at myself. Don't worry. So, many cultures and many religions have kept women from knowing and studying. And I feel that one dynamic root of this action is the desire to keep them feminine. In a sadomasochistic sense. For instance, women cannot be priests or rabbis. The timid man may tend to identify probing curiosity as somehow challenging to others, as if somehow by being intelligent and searching out the truth, he is being assertive and bold and manly in a way that he can't back up, and that such a pose will bring down upon him the wrath of other older, stronger men. So also many children identify curious probing as a trespass upon the prerogatives of their gods, the all-powerful adults. And of course, it is even easier to find the complementary attitude in adults. For often they find the restless curiosity of their children at least a nuisance. And sometimes even a threat and a danger, especially when it is about sexual matters. It is still the unusual parent who approves and enjoys curiosity in his children. Something similar can be seen in the exploited, the downtrodden, the weak minority, or the slave. He may fear to know too much to explore freely. And I know for sure for a lot of my friends that are within the disabled population, the ones who really have to rely on home care workers, right? And getting their needs met. And if they're not getting their needs met, they're afraid still to say something because they're afraid that they won't even get the little bit of help that they're getting now. So, as exactly, they're afraid. He may fear to know too much to explore freely, right? Because there can be something on the other side. If he does, that doesn't look too good, right? Because it's fear. This might arouse the wrath of his lords. Wrath. A defensive attitude of the pseudo-stupidity. A defensive attitude of pseudo-stupidity is common in such groups. In any case, the exploiter or the tyrant of the dynamics of the situation is not likely to encourage curiosity, learning, and knowledge in his underlings. People who know too much are likely to rebel. And I was thinking too, this is a common thing for, let's say, a woman or an individual who's in a domestic abuse situation, and the, exploiter doesn't want them to be educated, right? So let's say somebody wants to go and get a college education or expand their degrees or whatever. The exploiter is always going to put something in front of them from gaining knowledge. That's why they break off the friendships too. Yes. Sorry. Both the exploited and the exploiter are impelled to regard knowledge as incompatible with being a good, nice, well-adjusted slave. In such a situation, knowledge is dangerous, quite dangerous. A status of weakness or subordination or low self-esteem inhibits the need to know. The direct, uninhibited staring gaze is the main technique that an overlord monkey uses to establish dominance. Oh my gosh. That is so freaky to me, how many times that has happened to me. From men and women both, but a lot of men. It's freaky. Next time, stab him. Just kidding. But I will taser him. Or never speak to him again. Taser enough. Goodbye. Yeah. I just thought that was crazy. Where is it now? Sorry. Yeah. So crazy. The direct, uninhibited staring gaze is the main technique that an overlord monkey uses to establish dominance. You should just keep that in mind too, like maybe in your work or family. You know who the overlord monkey is. The subordinate animal characteristically drops his gaze. This dynamic can sometimes be seen unhappily even in the classroom. The really bright student, the eager questioner, the probing searcher, especially if he is brighter than his teacher, is often seen as the wise guy. Kicked out of class. A threat to discipline, a challenger of his teacher's authority. Wah, wah, wah. Challenge. I like challenges. When they're fair. That knowing can unconsciously mean domination, mastery, control, and perhaps even contempt. Can be seen also from the scoptophylatic. Whatever, I looked it up. Who can feel some sense of power over the naked woman he peeps at, as if his eyes were an instrument of domination that he could use for raping. In this sense, most men are peeping Toms and stare boldly at women, undressing them with their eyes. The biblical use of the word knowing as identical with sexual knowing is another use of the metaphor. At the unconscious level, knowing as an intrusive penetrating into as a kind of masculine sexual equivalent can help us to understand the archaic complex of conflicting emotions that may cluster around the child's peeping into secrets into the unknown. Some women's feelings of contradiction between femininity and boldly knowing. Of the underdog's feeling that knowing is a prerogative of the master. Of the religious man's fear that knowing trespasses on the jurisdiction of gods, is dangerous and will be resented. Knowing, like knowing, can be an act of self-affirmation. I do love my boyfriend. Knowing. The more you create, the more you know who you are. In some ways. A lot of ways, I think. Because while you're creating, it's like, some ways there's a void. And then you're an observer during the creation. And it's within that space that you find who you really are. I think it happens a lot, but we just probably don't recognize it. Because you have to be paying attention. You have to be conscious of it, right? Conscious creations. That's the difference. That's self-actualization when you're in the present moment working with source or the collective unconscious. When you're going into that void space to create, right? Anywho, I am going to go on to creating my masterpiece that I've been working on for like 7 months now. Yeah. That's right. And then I'm going to relax. Maybe go walk by the river. So, I hope you all have a blessed blessed weekend. Blessings upon blessings upon blessings. They're pouring down all on you now. All your good works. We need to dance it out. I need to dance it out. Plus, I need music for when I work anywhere. Huh. Thank you all for joining me. Love you all so much. Oneness. See you on Monday. Ciao, ciao for now.